I am Game Dave, and it's time to get digitally distracted with our very first, the inaugural episode of the Digitally Distracted Show, where we're going to talk about video games, technology, movies, music, really anything that gets you or us digitally distracted. And when I say us, I don't just mean me. I, of course, am Game Dave, but I'm going to be joined by my second banana. Second banana, that's an actual term. But I guess it just means co-host. I should probably just say co-host. It's a little weird. This is my good friend, Gerald. Welcome, Gerald.
Hello.
And today's topic, we're going to be talking about virtual reality gaming, which is really starting to grow and be a thing out there in the world.
I'm excited.
Yep, so it's gonna be me and Gerald, Game Dave and Gerald, Dave and Gerald, D&G, whatever you prefer. And you'll get to know Gerald as we go through the show, digitally distracted. So, virtual reality. I got a couple topics I want to talk about. All right, so we're just going to go through. We just finished a little session. Gerald had one of his friends over, and it was his first time playing VR, right?
Yes.
He'd never experienced it, and he seemed to be blown away. Did he say anything before he came over?
I was talking it up. I'd talked it up quite a bit before.
So you hyped it.
I did. And at the same time, I put a lot of qualifications in it as well. I said, even though I'm telling you what it's like, until you actually experience it, these words are going to sound hollow, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And
Batman seems to be the game that Arkham VR, that seems to be the one that pushes you to get people to want to look at it.
Yeah. I just tell people, play this game,
mm-hmm.
and it will just give you a taste of what it's capable of.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot that could happen with VR.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not 100% yet, but we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. So first off, I want to know, what do you think was your earliest experience with something that was like VR, or they pushed it like VR?
I think it was, remember down at the beach on the boardwalk,
Mm-hmm.
they had that really clunky, I think it was also in the arcade as well, but it's kind of like that weird space pod.
Okay, yeah.
Where it gave you this simulation of you're on a roller coaster or whatever, and it was up on its
Yeah, and it was like the full on. I don't know. There's like a special name for that, because I know a lot of amusement parks have that, where you're not actually moving and you're watching the screen. It's like just the chair is bumping around.
Right.
Yeah, so that sort of a simulation thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was, I think, the first sort of experience that I had.
Where it was trying to mimic like you were there.
Right, and then the first time I kind of had a concept of virtual reality was probably Lawnmower Man, the movie.
Okay, right, where they went in.
Yeah.
Oh, Pierce Brosnan, the lovely Pierce Brosnan. You know, Lawnmower Man. There was a Super Nintendo game for Lawnmower Man, and I had it as a kid, and it is absolute trash. It is the terrible, terrible game. Oh, it's so bad. But yeah, so the idea of going into virtual reality, so that's probably when you would have been like, oh, that's a thing.
Right,
that's a concept.
Exactly.
Right, well, that's interesting, because we're going to be talking about those concepts a little bit later. Stay tuned. Watch till the end. Don't miss what's going to happen. So my experiences, I never actually got into those mall kiosk. Actually, those mall kiosk things, I feel like there's more of those now. They have those like weird, like egg-shaped Men in Black pod chairs where you get in and you do like a virtual reality experience, and it's just some guy who he hates his life. He's like
the guy that works at the carnival, he pulls the lever.
He's somehow getting paid $5 an hour, which is illegal, and he doesn't want to be there. And he's like, yeah, just hop in, whatever, put a headset on, shoot the things. I've not used any of those. And when I was a kid, the idea of virtual reality, I didn't call it that at the time, but the Virtual Boy, when that came out, it gave you this illusion that, okay, you're going into the game with the Virtual Boy. We know that was a scam, but my mom heard us talking about it, and she bought us the Virtual Boy. Way to go, Mom. I still have my original Virtual Boy, and I loved the thing, and I think it just tricked me, because really the games weren't virtual reality. It was just you were putting your head in a 3D screen.
Right.
With I assume it's stereoscopic, because it looked pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it was all red. Did you ever use a Virtual Boy?
I did not, no.
Yeah, so there were complaints about headaches and things like that. I never had that issue, though I wear glasses now, so maybe it did hurt my eyes. I don't know. But I played a lot of Mario Tennis, and then Telero Boxer was the game on the Virtual Boy that was the most immersive experience, because it was POV, first person, and you were boxing these robots, and they would like punch at your face, and then your screen would go out when you lost the match. So that was about as close to virtual reality I experienced when I was young. There was one other thing that came. I don't know if it was before or after the Virtual Boy, but it was called the R Zone. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
So the R Zone. Here's a good backstory. So do you remember the little LCD, the crap, like the Game Boy was huge, right?
Right.
So that was really popular. So these other like Tiger Electronic companies
Right.
wanted to put out these little crappy LCD handhelds.
Yep.
Remember those? And they were just like black and white,
Yep.
the little crappy graphics. So this company that made the R Zone, like, all right, let's take that technology and let's take head strap technology and combine them. So the R Zone was an elastic strap with a little piece that came out, and it had a little flip down, like clear screen that would be in front of your eye.
Okay.
And all that was on it, it was just LCD graphics. And it was awful. But my brother and I were like, this is so cool. We had to like play it in a closet because, you know, there was no backlight or anything.
Right.
Terrible. So those are my two earliest virtual reality experiences. Virtual Boy a little bit better than the R Zone. Yeah, so don't buy an R Zone. Did you play any of those the old LCD games?
I did not.
No,
because I knew, being a little bit older than you, when they came out, I knew enough to know that they were trash. So I was like, I'm not going to waste my time.
And some of them were like $20, $25. And the Game Boy, I mean, you know, grandma getting scammed with the LCD games.
Poor grandma. They're still scamming grandma. I'm guilty.
The world is still scamming grandma with the digitally distracted show.
Yeah, I've seen some home shopping networks, not the home shopping network, but
still pushing like really.
It's bad where the technology has come so far where they're able to put full games inside just the controller.
Oh, the plug and plays, dude. Those plug and plays.
And they market them as, oh, your grandkids will come over and they won't want to leave, you know, and it's like.
And they're still like composite videos.
Oh,
not even HDMI.
Yeah, it's awful.
And then you have like the NES Classic and the SNES Classic coming out, which are actually good products. So these other companies just keep pushing out these 300 games in one.
Yes.
And they are almost always terrible. Almost always. Yeah. But you know what's not terrible? It's virtual reality.
That's not.
It's pretty good. So
I'm a big fan.
Let's talk about what you think it takes to make virtual reality great. Like, what is it in the experience or the controls or the way it looks?
Well,
what is it that makes it work?
I know what doesn't make it work.
What doesn't make virtual reality work? Better question.
Right. It's what I struggle with right now is the motion sickness.
Okay.
That's got to be worked out. I wanna buy so much virtual reality hardware and software, and I can't because I get motion sick.
Yeah. So a little while ago, Gerald knew I had the PSVR system, and I was talking about it. I was probably annoyingly talking about it. And Gerald's like, "Hey, I gotta come over and try." Okay, it was just enough. So I was like, "You gotta come over and try it." So we put together a play date, and Gerald came over, and you held up pretty well though. But you do get actual motion sickness.
Yeah, I do. I can't read in the car.
Roller coasters.
Roller coasters, I'm okay, but I think that's because I can see where we're going.
Spinning rides though,
they
terrible.
don't work. When I ride in the car as a passenger, I have to be in the front seat. It's frustrating.
Yeah, and we got through a couple games. Batman was actually fine for you because it's very stationary. There's a little bit of teleporting, but you're not really moving in the Z-axis or anything like that.
Right.
But then we moved on to some other games, and that's where it started to get you. Actually, Rush of Blood, which is like the PSVR rail shooter to play. Until Dawn, Rush of Blood got you.
Let me say, I love Until Dawn.
Yeah.
I love that
Huge
game.
horror game fan, as you guys know. I'm not.
Love it. So I really wanted to play Rush of Blood. There are, so many Easter eggs in that game. It's ridiculous. But I just couldn't handle it. It's a great experience.
You made it through the first level.
Yeah.
And then that second level with the with the butchered, hanging, brutalized pigs.
I love it. It's great. It was
I love my favorite thing. Brutally hung, butchered pigs.
It's so good. It's just done so well, but
yeah.
Part of the problem is with it was on rails and being sort of the roller coaster ride, it got me. It just got me in the head, and I said, I can't play this. In fact, I had to close my eyes a few times in the headset because I was
Yeah.
getting sick.
We were talking about this earlier. I think doing that might have made it worse because it was like you were shutting the whole world off,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have to come right back into it, and you're still
Mhm.
moving. Like that is what messed me up. The only game that's ever made me motion sick, if you've seen the episode, is Drunken Bar Fight,
Mm-hmm.
which is sort of a no offense, none taken to the developer.
Right.
It's not a great game, not well made, which is, I think, part of the charm. I mean, Gerald was
I would
there
agree.
for the experience.
I would
It's a
agree.
hilarious game, super fun time, but that game gave me motion sickness, and I think a lot of that has to do with just the way it moved,
Mm-hmm.
and just the controls felt very unintuitive, and I think my body just it couldn't catch up with the movements, and it was just like nope, and I felt super sick after we shot the B-roll for that footage.
Mm-hmm.
I was already feeling it before you guys left. And then when I went to play through the single player campaign solo, I mean, if you can call it a campaign, I was just struggling. Like if you saw the raw footage of me playing, it's a lot of, I would walk a little bit and I would just walk a little bit, punch, ugh. And what I started doing was I would close my eyes, turn, and then open my eyes, and then it started to get worse. So
Right.
I wonder if that has something to do with it. But so back to good experiences.
Right.
So I think it all really kind of started, at least the idea of a real immersive virtual reality. I think that started with motion control for sure. And motion control ideas have been around for a long time. I mean, there's been there was a Super Nintendo golf club. There was a Super Nintendo baseball bat that tracked motion. I mean, the early days there were motion control things. They just, they were crappy.
Right.
And then the Wii came out, and it was like motion control for
Man,
days.
you're right, Dave. You're right. That was such a huge hit.
Yeah.
That it really sparked. They really hit on something there.
Yeah, and I don't think if motion controls hadn't become mainstream, I don't think virtual reality would be where it is now, because you can play PSVR or other VR controllers with or VR games with a regular controller,
Mm-hmm.
but it's so different than having your hands be tracked.
Right.
Not just your head motion. But so I think motion controls are a must to really make a good virtual reality experience.
Yeah.
Obviously, good head tracking
Yes.
with the headsets makes a
Yes.
difference. I was gonna say that the quality of the graphics and the screen really mattered, but the more I play, I don't know if it does, because you sort of suspend disbelief and you ignore some of because PSVR is not super sharp.
No.
There's a little bit of blurriness to it. It doesn't have that screen door effect that a lot of the PC ones have had, where it kind of looks like you're looking through a wireframe mesh. But for the PSVR, I don't notice a lot of that. It's just that slight little pixely haze. I don't know. Do you feel like you saw that when you played?
You mentioned that to me early on, where you said, even though the graphics may be subpar or not what we're used to, you're able to suspend that disbelief because it's just so immersive.
Yeah.
And I did experience that with I Expect You to Die, where that's kind of blocky. It's not,
Yeah, for those who don't know, it's like a James Bond secret agent game where you're put in situations where everything's trying to kill you. It's a seated experience.
I'm a sucker for those games.
And
So-
it's the car one was the one you played.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and it really is very immersive, and
Yeah, you just turn off the fact that, these graphics might not be good. Yeah. So I would say, as long as the gameplay is there and the representations are good enough, I don't think screen quality or graphics matter. It will, of course, be better if you're in there and it's like, this looks like a real person. We were talking about the sort of Safari game,
yes,
which kind of combines virtual reality with, pre-recorded footage with these like 360 cameras that are out there, which are okay, but 360 cameras have their own sort of weird issues. But yeah, basically you can pet a lion and not get eaten.
Right,
That's sort of
right,
the
right,
idea
right.
behind that. I'm not sure the exact name of that, but you had mentioned that today. That is kind of a weird thing where that's as photorealistic as you can get. But I wonder that'd be an interesting one to try to see if the depth is there. Like it feels like it's not just a flat
right,
animal because it is like a pre-recorded camera footage. I don't
Right.
know. But I want two things, I think, to make virtual reality perfect at home.
okay,
Because I think when you go to other places or you go to like you know, there probably are like VR arcades where they have like big open rooms, like with the Vive set up and
Right.
things like that, where you can actually walk wherever you want. But when it comes to being at home, unless you have a dedicated like 15 by 15 room that is empty or padded, maybe,
Right,
because
right.
you will run into things. You will hit. I think your buddy Ian hit the headset a couple times.
Yeah, he hit me.
He hit. Yeah, he's like, please eat this move controller, Gerald. And until you can have like a space where it's completely open and you don't have to worry about anything being in the way, people at home aren't going to have that. So the first thing I think they've got to figure out in a cheap way is how you can simulate walking.
Right.
Because teleporting works.
Mm-hmm.
Like in Skyrim VR, you have to teleport. I mean, you could kind of move, but you got to teleport unless you're using a DualShock controller, which I think takes you out of it. So there's been a couple, I don't know if you've seen, the main idea is like treadmills.
Right.
Okay, where you have a treadmill system that recognizes you're walking. But when I walk on a treadmill, I don't feel like I'm walking naturally.
Right.
And then they released, there's this, it's somewhat new. There's a treadmill that has conveyors that go both ways.
Mm-hmm.
So as you turn, the other set of conveyors will start moving.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that is just asking for disaster. Like somebody, you're going to fall down and bust your head on that.
Right.
There's another company that makes one that it's sort of an octagon,
Mm-hmm.
and it has a slight slope to it.
Hmm.
And there's these special shoes you wear
Mm.
that are slick.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not moving, and you're in sort of like a little round padded barrier, and you sort of lean into it and you sort of glide, you sort of slide your feet on it. And that causes the game to move your character. But again, it's still not there. I don't know what they're going to need to do to get it to where you can actually move aside from really big room scale and you just happen to have a VR room in your house. That's the only thing I think that's holding back like full immersion.
Right.
And then the other thing I was going to say is haptic feedback, where you can actually feel it.
Mm-hmm.
We need somebody, please make a VR glove like that. Gloves that every finger, and they have vibration sensors, or you can feel what you're picking up.
Tony Stark, if you're listening,
sir, get on that. There is a company that's made like a really good haptic feedback glove, but it has all these crazy like cablings, like, and it's probably super expensive.
Right.
And there's a demo where like a little fox will jump in your hand, and you can kind of feel the fur of the fox, like just the haptics in that glove, which is pretty cool. Or it'll start raining, and you'll feel as you see the raindrops, it'll react in the glove. But just the expense and how big and bulky that glove is. It's not like something smooth like in a sci-fi show where you just throw on the glove or you put on the suit,
right,
and you can feel everything. So those two things, if they could figure those out, I think VR would blow up if it was affordable.
Right.
Because I think that's the other big thing is like the cost.
Those are some pretty high hurdles to jump over.
Yeah, and I don't know if it'll ever get there. It might just be something we deal with, like teleporting in games and virtual reality. That just might always be a thing.
Another problem too with that is if you have a large game like Skyrim, you can't walk everywhere in Skyrim. It's just too big.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I know there's like the fast travel.
Yeah.
It's called.
Yeah.
Fast travel. So, I mean, there's that aspect, but yeah, I have not played Skyrim VR yet because I know, I mean, we talked about this. You had wanted to try Skyrim VR that one night, but by the time you'd be done character creation, it would be the next day.
Yeah. Well, that in my head was already shot from.
Yeah. You had to lay down for probably about an hour.
Yeah. Close my eyes. I think I even dozed off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little sleep. Well, I played some Shooty Fruity.
Yeah, I did not feel well.
No. So that was the other thing too, is that after you got out of the headset to take that break, still watching me continue got you.
Yep.
So I wonder what it is about that, because if you watch somebody play a first-person shooter,
right,
that probably wouldn't make you sick.
It did.
Oh, it does?
Initially, and then I got used to it. So okay. I used to not be able to watch people play first-person shooters, and now I can.
Yeah, and that's sort of the conversation we're having off camera, is can you train your body to not get motion sick in virtual reality?
That's the dream.
And you tried the second session, you tried the old Dramamine combo.
Yep.
Do you think that staved it off more?
I do. I feel like it helped a little bit.
But not enough to where you could just play anything.
Right.
Yeah. So it's mostly just that movement, like when you're walking in the game, But anything standing, you're pretty okay.
Yeah, it's just the movement, and I'd love if there's some sort of regimen or something that I could do, some kind of protocol that I could build up a tolerance
Yeah,
or
yeah. What is the workout?
right,
Train your game.
right,
Train your game. How
right.
do I do that? So, what different one? You've tried the PSVR. Have you used Vive or Oculus Rift, or have you tried the Gear VR, which is like cell phone VR at all?
No, I haven't. Used a little bit of the AR, with cell phones, but
Yeah.
nothing with the virtual reality cell phone hardware. I'd love to, but I just haven't had the opportunity.
Yeah, and after you like, I think the cell phone, the Gear VR is kind of like that's a very early stepping stone. Like, I think
Mm-hmm.
that's something you could easily skip.
Mm-hmm.
I've done some Gear VR at conventions that I've gone to, but I've not. I had no interest to.
And what are your thoughts about it?
It's fine. It's fine. I mean, they're not. It's VR mobile games.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have that the AAA feel.
Right.
But even regular VR games, they're not all made by AAA companies either. Aside from, that's probably why Batman is so good
Mm.
because Rocksteady did it.
Mm-hmm.
So of course they're gonna put like
Right.
effort into it, and they already have all these assets to pull from with the Arkham games. But a lot of VR games that are popular, I mean, they're mostly indie devs at this point. Like a big one now that just recently came out, I cannot wait to try, is Beat Saber, which is a little bit of DDR, a little bit of Guitar Hero, and lightsabers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've seen it. I think I showed you a little clip of it, maybe.
I think so.
Yeah, so essentially the notes for the song come towards you,
Uh-huh.
and you have these two, like a red and blue lightsaber, and you're slashing the notes with the rhythm of the song.
Right.
And there'll be arrows on those little notes that come in, determining which way you need to slash the blocks.
Wow.
And it gets insane.
I bet.
Yeah, and then there'll be walls that'll come by, so you have to kind of like dodge away
Sounds
from the
awesome.
walls. Yeah, it's an amazing looking game. It's really taking off. A lot of people have taken it upon themselves to modify their Vive controllers, because right now it's Vive and Oculus, all PC right now. I've talked to the developer a little bit, very little bit. He's probably never going to talk to me again because he's now getting massacred with interest in Beat Saber. It's everywhere. He's doing talks about it. So Beat Saber, if you want to get up with me, please do. Don't forget about me. I talked to you before it was big. Early on when I first heard about it, I was like, I got to reach out to this guy because this is going to blow up. And we talked a little bit, and I was like, hey, let me know when things start growing. And it blew up on Reddit, and I haven't heard from him.
Wow.
So hopefully he doesn't forget about me. But he said there's going to be a PSVR version. So that's what I'm going to wait for, I think. But, oh, man, I do want to play it because I love DDR. I love rhythm games. And just the things people are doing with, like I was saying, there are people who have made bow staff versions, sort
Wow.
of Darth Maul style, and they're playing the games, or the songs with it.
Right.
Crazy. There's somebody who did, what did I see the other day? They took straps and made essentially nunchucks. And they were playing it with nunchucks. Like, think about the skill level.
Right. That's
just to
amazing.
play it with the sabers, let alone
That's
nunchucks.
amazing.
Yeah, so it's interesting to see what is going to be coming down the line. PC VR is where it starts.
Right.
And then I think when they refine things, that's when we get it on PSVR. Because I did pick up a Vive recently. I have not had time to clear a space and hook it up and really compare the two. I just like having it on a console, and it's just working. It's just ready to go. I don't have to set anything up. I don't have to dedicate a PC to it. I think that's what's kind of keeping it from the mainstream more so. As PSVR grows, I'm hoping
Right.
it'll keep going.
I would agree. Now, backtracking just a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge fan of mobile games. I love mobile games, so I wonder if I would like the Gear hardware.
Well, it's cheaper, probably easier to access. It might not be as intensely immersive, so I wonder if you'd get as sick.
Interesting.
Let's go off topic real quick. 'Cause
Okay.
Now you've got me in the mobile gaming mindset all of a sudden. So I like to whine and complain to people about mobile gaming and cell phone games. A good friend of the show, 8-Bit Duke, he does a show about mobile games. Check that out. He's a big proponent of cell phone gaming. He has some really good reviews. Check out his channel, 8-Bit Duke. So let's see, top 3. What are your top 3 cell phone games that you've been playing right now?
Aridin Arena. I've been playing for years.
Okay, explain that.
So
I don't know.
it's a tactical card game that uses dice.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
It's a tactical
Yeah.
card game
So
using dice.
It's PvP,
Okay.
and
One-on-one?
yes, you have your hand of your different characters, and you activate different abilities that they have depending on the dice that you roll. And it's kind of a Yahtzee style. So you roll your dice, you can pick which ones you want to keep, and determine which abilities you want to activate.
Okay. So the card, but you don't see the character sort of like, you don't activate an actual thing on a map that's fighting and attacking.
No.
It's strictly, so it's like Magic.
Yes.
Like Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
With dice.
Kind of, yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because I used to play a lot of Magic back in the day. I was never good at it.
Uh-huh.
Because there's so many rules and the understanding of sequence and
Yeah,
all the
this
different
is
things.
much more straightforward.
Okay.
It's not that complex, and
All
it's
right.
more you have characters and less about, spells and instant
and land and all
yes,
that.
yeah, no mana, nothing like that. So your dice are kind of your mana as far as you determine what you can activate by what you roll. It's kind of like Ashes, the card game. If anybody's played that, where the dice are your mana. I'm a big fan of cardboard games as well, and that's
As we're getting into this, I'm realizing that's gonna have to be a show. That's gonna have to be a show. We'll have to do that soon. Let's save that because I really want to get into that because we have a very different mindset on that. Now, but I have to admit there's some cell phone games I play now and then, but they never like stick with me. Like for years, that's impressive.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it was my go-to game. One of the benefits of it is that the matches are very quick, maybe a minute or two. So you can pick it up, put it down very quickly.
Lunch break, play a couple rounds, get back to work.
It doesn't really have the traditional issue with like your energy, how...
Oh, you have to wait 8 hours to play again.
Now, it does have that to a certain point. You get rewards at the end of your game. And once you run out of keys, you can either buy more keys or you have to wait until the keys restock after a certain amount of time. But you can keep playing and just not get those rewards.
So I got one last question before we're going to take a quick break.
Okay.
How much have you spent on this game? Have you spent money on this game?
Yes, I have. And
how could you?
Well, here's the thing. That actually speaks volumes to how much I love this game.
So it's a free to play.
It's free to play.
So you could do it all on your own.
Yes. I did for years. But
it got to the point where you were just like, I want to get more into it.
Here's the thing. And I've recently stopped playing after years.
Okay.
Because they changed a little bit of their formatting. Before you could earn crystals through your matches, playing for free, and then use those crystals to buy additional cards or upgrade cards that you had.
Okay.
They stopped doing that. So then you were sort of forced to, unless you played a ton, and I used to, but then I just kind of stopped playing as frequently. It was.
Ooh, don't even get me started on
of time.
Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, because I'm a big Animal Crossing fan. And I was like, oh, wow, Animal Crossing on the phone, on the go. I can take it to work. I was so excited. And then these freaking Leaf tickets. At first, you could earn Leaf tickets doing things, but you could also buy them.
Right.
And you had to use those for certain events.
Right.
But you would always have just enough time to grind it naturally.
Yes.
And then this last event they had, they added fortune cookies. I am 31 years old. They added fortune cookies, which were so expensive, you had to buy them with Leaf tickets. You could only get 2 a day normally. And the event lasted like 6 days. So you could not earn enough Leaf tickets to get all of the items.
Yep.
Because they released... Oh, it's gonna make me... We're going to have to stop after this. It's going to make me so mad. So the event was this fortune cookie you could buy as many as you wanted, but there were 50 Leaf tickets a piece. It takes a long time to get that many Leaf tickets in the game normally.
Very expensive.
And it was game consoles for furniture. So you could get like a Virtual Boy. Go figure.
Right.
You could get a Virtual Boy to set up in your house. Or, well, your camp, basically. You could get a Nintendo Switch. You could get a DS. And there were all these different game consoles, classic game consoles you could earn by opening these fortune cookies. And it was random. And there were about, I don't know, maybe 12 or so different ones. I started using my Leaf tickets for them because I'd saved them up. I hoarded them. I'm a digital hoarder. And I got a Virtual Boy first try. I was like, yes, this isn't so bad. Second time, you got a Virtual Boy.
Oh.
You could get the same thing you've already gotten in your inventory. It was completely random. I got 4 Virtual Boys, Gerald. 200 Leaf tickets.
Jeez.
Done. Haven't touched the game since. So, Nintendo, I know you're watching. You're not watching. Please fix yourselves.
Yeah, it's a very similar situation. So
Unfair. Very unfair.
I was still in love with this game for a couple months, and I probably spent
long pause.
I probably spent about $200 on this game,
Woo.
which
That's almost
over.
It's almost 4 games.
Right.
More than 4 games.
And you know, I still don't feel guilty about it because this game provided me
years of entertainment.
And I did want to support the developers, and I want them to keep on having, bringing content out, and they're really good at bringing out
updates
and cards every week, and
Okay.
so I don't, even now I don't regret it, but I did reach a point where I was like, this is ridiculous. I'm not gonna do this anymore.
Yeah, that's where I got with that game, but we'll save the rest for that episode. This is just a foreshadow for that episode of the show because it's time for a game break. So the game break every episode. See, we're just making it up as we go along. No, this is all planned out. We're gonna bring more than just talking on this show. Gerald, this is game break where we're gonna stop halfway through the episode and we're gonna do a little game. Today, just gonna be trivia.
Okay.
A little bit of trivia.
Okay.
I've got 3 trivia questions for you.
Okay.
About virtual reality. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about the history of virtual reality to start off. Okay, I'll give you multiple choice.
Okay, good.
Okay,
Good,
make
good,
it
good.
easier, and then we can just kind of talk about it. So, the display that you wear, the goggles, okay,
Yes.
is generally referred to as an HMD, a head-mounted display.
Okay.
What was the name of the first head-mounted display ever created? Okay, what was the name of it? Okay, you ready? Was it the iZone, the Sword of Damocles,
I hope it's that one.
Top Hat, or the V goggles? So V goggles, Top Hat, Sword of Damocles, or the first one, which is obviously not real because I forgot what it was already. Got him. So it's one of those 3. Sword of Damocles. Okay. Got that? You ready for it? The goggles or the top hat? Okay.
So is this the marketing name of the product? Or
I'll
is
give you
this...
the year, 1968.
Wow.
1968. The first head-mounted display.
I'm gonna go with the top hat.
Top hat. It was the Sword of Damocles.
Man.
Even with my mistake, still got him. Yeah, the Sword of Damocles. And that's a hardcore. That's one you wanted it to be.
I wanted it to be that.
But that was
That's
too cool.
Amazing.
Right? Yeah, so it was Ivan Sutherland developed that in 1968 with his company. And there were head-mounted displays before that.
Okay.
But this was the first one that was actually connected to a computer for the graphic feed. And it was super primitive graphics. And it was called the Sword of Damocles. Do you know the story?
No, tell me it.
So the Sword of Damocles is an ancient Greek story that sort of represented the dangers of life. And there was a sword, the Sword of Damocles, that hung over the throne by a single hair. So it was always like at any moment, it could all be over.
All over.
So the reason it got that name is because it was hooked to this super heavy piece of machinery that then, went into the head-mounted display and attached. So it was like this
Gotcha.
Sword of Damocles. It was this big, heavy thing. So it's almost like a joke of how huge it was.
Right.
So Sword of Damocles.
That makes sense. I like
Yeah.
that.
Now this time we're going to get it a little bit easier.
Okay.
A little bit easier.
All right.
Okay. So, in what year was the term virtual reality coined? When was the first time the words virtual reality were put together to represent what we know it as today?
Okay.
Okay. Was it 1954, 1968, or 1987? 1954, 1968, or 1987?
I'm going to say 87.
You are correct, sir.
Oh,
1987. So
Boom.
pretty late to the game. I was surprised. But hey, it's a good year I was born. I'll take it. 1987 is the first time the term virtual reality was coined. And that was by, let me get this right. I don't want to mess it up. Jaron Lanier. Jaron Lanier. And he ran a research company that delved into VR around that time. But again, I mean, that was a big thing. Like you think of the really goofiness, the idea around virtual reality in the 80s and 90s, like just ridiculous people with like weird clothes
Right.
on and these weird headsets and
Yep.
stuff before they really figured it out. But that was when the term was first coined. Interesting.
Very interesting.
Well done. So you got one.
Uh-huh.
You got one right. Now this is the last question. This is about virtual reality and vision and the idea of like, does a VR headset hurt your eyes? You know, staring at those screens? Because we've always heard parents telling children, you know,
I heard it.
you're going to mess your eyes up. Your eyes are
heard
going to go square, I think was one of the terms. So you would hear that a lot from your
Yeah,
parents?
cross-eyed or whatever.
Cross-eyed from looking at screens. Did you believe them?
I think I did
Yeah.
because, you know, when I was very young, you get right up in front of the TV.
Yeah, you're playing that
Right up.
CRT close.
Right. And that kind of makes sense in retrospect.
So here's the question. The American Academy of Ophthalmology have weighed in. They weighed in on screen exposure. Okay.
Interesting.
So did they say there is no evidence that exposure to screens can cause permanent damage? There is little evidence, or there is some evidence that long exposure to screens can cause permanent damage?
I'm going to say some evidence. Now let's...
Because we got no, little, and some.
Now, when you say damage...
Can cause permanent damage to the eyes.
So are we talking like blindness, or are we talking it might affect your vision and whether you have to wear glasses or prescription strength?
We'll go that route. We'll say some damage, yeah.
Okay.
Like in that sense.
Yeah, I'll say it's, what was the worst kind?
So we got no, little, some.
I'll say
So you're
some.
going for the worst?
It's the worst.
All right. According to the American Academy of Ophthalmology, there is no evidence that
Really?
long exposure to screens can cause permanent damage. There's not been
Crazy.
any proof of that. Isn't that wild?
That is wild.
Because you would just naturally think, but I mean...
Well, even now they say when you're at work and you're looking at your computer monitor, you know, every 20 minutes or so, look away, refocus on
Right.
something in the distance,
Because of
come
strain.
back. Exactly.
So
that's
I
what
was
would've
thinking the
figured.
same thing. So I looked into it a little bit more. They did say that somebody who already has like a vision issue or some weird weakened issue, not just like glasses,
Gotcha.
it could possibly affect that more.
Okay.
But there were a lot of studies about other issues, not physical damage, but mental damage in the sense of, you know, there's a lot of talk about waking up and immediately going to your phone or
Right.
looking at your phone before you go to bed.
Right.
And that screen brightness kind of makes your brain become active. So it's hard to get a
Right.
proper like sleep rhythm.
Yeah.
So that I could see. But yeah, apparently we're okay. We're good. Our 4-hour VR sessions, we hopefully will be okay.
Yeah.
until the real study comes out.
Right.
So that
Right.
was our first game break. We got through it. Not bad
Man.
for the first episode.
He sprung that on me
He
right
not
before
know. He did not know about
we
game
started
break.
filming. He said game breaks
Yeah.
are going to be a thing, and I was like, "What are you talking about?"
That's true. So let's get back to the topic, virtual reality gaming. I want to talk about the popularity of virtual reality. We touched on it a little bit. Where do you think we're at with virtual reality at home? Because that's kind of what I really want to talk about. Because every convention, there's virtual reality headsets set up. E3, I'm sure it's full of them.
Right.
But people that are actually buying a VR headset, whether it's on the PC, the Gear VR, or PSVR, whatever it is, you know, how big and how locked in do you think that is right now? Like where we are right now?
I think it's still touchy. I think
we're still in the early
I
era.
am. Yeah, I do. I'm afraid that, you know, it's not necessarily here to stay yet. I think there's a lot of interest in it,
Yeah.
but it has to be marketable, and the companies, in order to, we were just talking about this, put money in their R&D, they need to see some sort of return.
Yeah, because most of them are the indie devs.
Yeah.
Like these AAA companies are not. They're not making a bunch of like. We haven't gotten Uncharted VR yet.
Right.
Like where's that at?
Oh my gosh, that'd be amazing.
Be crazy.
That
Climbing
would be
rock climbing and
so cool.
yeah.
I think AR is going to be a step,
Mhm.
kind of like a halfway step or a half step on,
like the classic Pokemon Go.
you know. Oh, that was, you know, that was huge.
It was huge, but it was. I mean, it was barely AR.
Yeah, but that just shows you, I think, where the potential is.
There's actually I don't know if it's out yet, but there's a Ghostbusters. You know, I'm a huge Ghostbusters nut. I have a problem. Probably will be an episode topic at some point. But there was a Ghostbusters AR Pokemon Go style game. I don't know if it's out yet, but I think it's in development, licensed, which is kind of interesting. Pokemon Go got tough because unless you lived in the right spot, like you gotta do some traveling, and the time involvement was tricky. But Ghostbusters, you know, catching ghosts in your town, ooh, that's I could see that.
There's a ton of potential. There really is. I think, and I may be wrong on this.
We'll see. You don't even want to say it.
I don't. But
you're so nervous about it.
Did I hear something about a Harry Potter AR experience?
I think there's a Harry Potter virtual reality experience, but I don't know if it's like a home one. Speaking of Ghostbusters, not to switch it, but there's a Ghostbusters virtual reality event thing that is happening where you go in and you it's like a more, you know, you get tickets to it.
Gotcha.
And you wear like a backpack and you have like a gun and you wear the headset and it's all connected into like the rooms are built up for a virtual reality Ghostbusters experience. That's something that's come out, which is really awesome. I'd love to do that, but you know, I'm not gonna probably ever get to try that.
Right.
But I'm sure there's a Harry Potter AR experience. I'm sure on the phone there's got to be something. Because I know there was even like the wand fighting games.
Right.
So I'm sure there's
right.
something.
I mean, the market for that is huge.
Yeah. Anything Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Still, I mean, the main series movies have been done.
Yeah.
And they're still making movies about the lore, you know, with the
and it's just going to get bigger because, you know, as people get older, you know, as they're going to want those kind
nostalgia.
of stories. Yeah, exactly.
Yep,
so it's, you know, the market's going to be there.
Oh yeah, Reboot City. Excuse me. What is Harry Potter going to be when that gets rebooted? How are they going to do that?
Right.
Speaking of reboot, you remember Reboot? The CG show?
Wow, yeah.
Where the incoming game with Bob and Enzo, and they would fight the user, which was us playing video games. Loved that show growing up. You know, they rebooted it.
Did they?
Unfortunately, they rebooted Reboot. Wow. And it's I think it's on Netflix, and I don't even want to watch it. It looks like absolute trash.
Really?
It really has nothing to do with the original show. I think it's like these kids that go into games and they play. And
do you remember the game Arcade on Nintendo? Not Nintendo. Nickelodeon.
Yeah, Nick Arcade.
Yeah.
Oh, classic.
I was all about that game or that show.
The host goes to a lot of the conventions now.
Really?
Yeah, because they were trying to bring it back.
Man,
they did a Kickstarter
cool
or something, or Indiegogo. Yeah, they tried to fund to bring it back. I don't know if it ever happened, but yeah. Oh, loved Nick Arcade. Oh, there was another one too, but yeah, really cool idea. Like gaming on television is kind of it just hasn't taken off.
No.
But YouTube and web series and like gaming is huge.
Yeah.
Huge. Let's talk about this. So AR, we talked a little bit about AR. We've been talking about gaming almost exclusively, aside from that little Safari chat.
Right.
So gaming in VR versus experiences or simulations in VR. Let's talk about that because there are some on the PSVR as well that are, sometimes they'll call them PSVR apps or experiences. What was the one that you were making fun of? Do you remember what that one was? It was free. The one that was free on the store, the place PSN we were looking at. It was some musician, I think. Wasn't it?
My gosh.
Ooh, I don't even remember who it was. Josh Bell? Was that
yes. Something like that. Something
Joshua Bell. His music experience in VR.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, I mean,
I believe,
I tip my hat to you. Like, it's a great marketing ploy.
But you did say free is overpaying. You did free too much.
I think I said that.
Free is too much.
I think I said that.
But a good one, there's an Apollo, I believe it's Apollo 11, which is an experience. It's not really a game. Like you go through the Apollo 11 mission.
That's pretty cool.
And you're in the suit and you're kind of interacting with, you know, the control panels and things like that, but it's not really a game. You're just going through the experience. What do you think about that for VR? Do you think there's...
I love it. I think there's a lot of potential for that.
Yeah, especially with history, like historical things, like to experience and like go into it. And it's not really a game. It's not really a goal. You're just going through it.
Yeah.
I wonder if it has to be game-like for people to want to pick up those experiences. Like Apollo 11, like it's not like you can't fail the mission as
Right.
far as I know. You're just getting pushed through a very linear experience. Like, do you think there's a lot of room for linear
I
experiences?
kind of wish we would have played that Safari game before we recorded this.
Yeah, to kind of see what that's like. I have a feeling that would get boring very quickly.
I think that application is limited.
Yeah.
But I think it would be a good sort of proof of concept, you know.
Mm-hmm.
If there were a story behind it or an objective, like, you know, the lunar landings or something like that.
Yeah, those kind of sim things. Yeah, and there's another, like, there's missions to Mars and things like that, like, that could be interesting to just go through.
Yeah, you know, I think there are a lot of people, I think, that enjoy watching video games just on the television screen that are well done. For example, I played Witcher 3 on the PS4. Love
You went through the whole game?
Yes. It's probably my favorite game of all time.
It's a very mature rated game.
Love that game. And my girlfriend watched it pretty much the whole thing just on the couch right beside me.
Yeah, and was into it.
And she loved it.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, that's what I did growing up, you know, because my go-to genre was role-playing games. And those aren't, you know, you're not going to play co-op in role-playing games unless you're talking Secret of Mana or something. But what we would do, if I went to his house, I would watch him play through the RPG he was working on.
Right.
If he came to my house, I would be playing through my RPG. He would just watch me like, oh, wow, so you use that attack? Oh, wow, that's cool. But never did we play each other's RPGs. It's interesting. Like, he was obsessed with Kingdom Hearts. I'm going to say it right now. Probably going to get some dislikes already. Don't like Kingdom Hearts. Not a fan. I don't want Disney in my Final Fantasy. Sorry about it. I don't need Goofy hanging out with Cloud in Final Fantasy. So it never really hit with me, but I would watch him play it. I had no interest to play it myself. He would watch me play Suikoden, which I'm obviously obsessed with, but he never played it. He thought it was cool. It was interesting. Another one was Legend of Legaia, which is not known to be a great game, but he loved it, and I would watch him play it. And I was never bored watching him play those games. And it's so funny that with Let's Play culture, that continued to where you could watch any game.
That's another great example, you know? So I think there is potential out there.
For just an experience.
Yes.
Yeah, I could see that. And even if you think like roller coaster simulators in VR, that's a thing. There's, I think, 2 or 3 apps, or they might call them games, on PSVR that are just different roller coaster experiences.
Or the Soar game, where you're the bird.
Right. Which it has some gamey elements, but I mean, really, you're flying.
Right.
You're flying as a bird.
But it's amazing. You know, I wish I could play it, but I get motion sickness.
Yeah, that would be a serious throw up situation.
Yeah, that one. And
sure.
What's that other game where you're like the superhero, and you're like you can blast through buildings, and like these giant creatures are attacking the city, and you're this flying superhero.
In VR?
Yeah.
Is that one we played?
We didn't play it, but either we watched a preview of it, or a trailer at least.
You're blasting through the walls. We're not talking about the playroom, just the mini games.
Yeah.
No,
VR. No.
What is that one? That must have been. Is that one I bought?
I think you had, or maybe it wasn't released yet.
Maybe it's coming.
I wish you had your.
I know. We're going to have to upgrade eventually and take this off airplane mode. I'll get a laptop one of these days. Support us on Patreon. Yeah, no, that's, if you know, leave it in the comments.
Yeah.
Please.
Looks great.
Us.
I want to play it so badly, but again, you're flying, so I can't play that.
Yeah, I mean, not right now. Until we figure out that fix.
No.
Until one of the fans of the show that is a doctor and puts together a plan for you.
Please.
That's what we need.
I have a PPO.
Insurance, baby. Insurance just to play VR. So speaking of the future of your VR experience, let's finish up talking about where we think virtual reality is going to go, what it's going to take to become more mainstream. Is it going to become more mainstream? What do you think the future of VR is going to be, to finish out today?
I'd like to see it grow, become more implemented.
Yeah, because if it doesn't become more popular, devs are going to stop trying new things and making new products and making it better.
I think there's a lot of people that want to see it integrated more, but it's just, can developers see enough return to get to the point where everybody wants it to be, but they just need to bridge those technological gaps.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know about that. The biggest thing for me, I think, is the motion sickness, because if they're able to
Fix it for everybody.
fix it for everybody, then then I think it's going to open up a lot of doors. Like I said, I want to support it with my money.
But it would be foolish to buy such an expensive
Yes.
accessory, really,
Yep.
where you can play maybe a couple games.
Yeah.
So
Doesn't really make it worth it to me. What do you think?
I think cost. I think as the cost comes down, because I am a proponent of getting PSVRs. Like, that's where you should get your feet wet, because if you already have a PlayStation 4, you don't have to put out as much money.
I would agree.
Because a lot of people are like, oh, well, I don't have to, you have to buy a big expensive computer just to be able to run PC VR. Just get PSVR. What if you're an Xbox user?
Right.
And you don't have a PlayStation 4? You still got to buy a $300 console and $300 and upwards to get the PSVR setup. So you're kind of in a similar situation. It still is cheaper.
Right.
But yeah, I think PSVR is the way to start. But until the headsets get cheaper and the headsets get more comfortable and lighter, if we can have that really light, like to where it's almost like you're just putting on sunglasses,
right?
Like an old 80s sci-fi movie where it's like, yep, all the virtual reality is in these little sunglasses.
Right.
If we can get to that point, I think anybody would. Because even though 3D TV and 3D technology, watching that at home has kind of died out. Like, who buys a TV now specifically that's 3D?
I wanted that. I really wanted that to take off.
And it got easier to where you didn't need the active shutter ones. You could get the like more movie theater style sunglasses. So it got really easy, but it still didn't take off.
Yeah,
so
and I think a lot of that was because the application wasn't there. The titles weren't there. The soft, you know what I mean?
It's just like, whoa, it's 3D. Why did it need to be 3D?
Man, I remember seeing Jurassic Park 3D in the theaters.
Oh, when they did the re-release and they redid everything.
And I think the only thing I noticed was like a leaf kind of came out a little bit.
Gerald's watching like an hour in. It's like, whoa. Oh, that leaf.
I was hot.
Oh, that leaf.
I was hot. It was a joke. It was a joke.
Yeah, 3D, I think, is not to be the number one draw. That's, I think, a supplement, which is where I think virtual reality, having 3D in virtual reality, which you have to have that sense of depth, that's where it matters.
Right.
For sure. So for me, it's cost, like as the cost comes down. Because if you get a headset for $100,
oh, man.
Who wouldn't?
Who wouldn't?
Yeah, it's a little less than 2 games. Yeah, buy a VR headset. And there's so many free games and applications that you can test.
It's true.
That you get something when you get the headset.
I want people to buy those AAA titles. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But if you're just looking for a variety of titles, they're out there.
Yeah, I mean, I've even just I've only bought VR games on sale, pretty much, because there's always sales. And I have almost 100 VR games.
It's crazy.
And I've not spent that much money, because a lot of them I bought a game today for $2, and it's not bad.
No,
it's like a flying spaceship shooter.
I was really impressed. $2,
$2,
man.
So
that's a no-brainer.
Yeah,
it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, and if the AAA companies would get on it and put out some awesome VR experiences like Batman, which is I think the best example right now of a AAA VR game. Aside, of course, from a lot of people will point to it. I don't have the experience. Resident Evil is in VR. Okay, but
Is it Biohazard?
Yeah, I don't have the.
I played that outside of VR.
And did you like it?
I just played the demo.
Okay.
I was a little disappointed.
Oh.
But
in VR.
In VR, it would be amazing.
Yeah, they're saying that is like the horror experience right now. It's still probably the best VR horror experience because it's the whole game.
Yeah.
In VR.
Yeah.
So, but I bought it.
Yeah.
But I haven't played it yet.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'll be able to.
And to be fair, I did watch the trailer of it, and to have the scenes in the trailer to be in VR would be amazing. So me saying I wasn't a big fan of it, the demo really dry.
Yeah,
it really just kind of gives you a feeling of the world, but it doesn't really do much. So to be fair, I don't really feel as though that's you're able to make the call with just the demo.
Probably not. Yeah. We need to take a night where you're not worried about getting sick and
Right.
just let you try and see how far you can get before it hits you.
Right.
Because you'd probably
I think I'm
go
actually,
bonkers
when we
for it.
wrap up filming tonight, I think that might be
All right, it's
something we
decided.
do.
Shh, you wish you could be there. All right, well, let's close out now. I always want to do this. At
Okay.
the end of each show, we're going to do a little Q&A segment from the viewers. Now, you might not know. How's he going to get questions? This is the first episode.
It's impossible. Does
Because
Dave have a time machine?
I do. It's called Patreon and Discord, right? See, if you're on that Patreon, you would already know that Digitally Distracted was coming, but now you'll be set for next time. So I have 3 questions for the Q&A today. Okay, 2 from Patreon and 1 from the Game Dave Discord server. Links will be in the description. So make sure you join up because you get all kinds of like bonus things on that Discord. And of course, if you want to help the show, support it on Patreon. That's the only reason this was able to happen. You know, the set, thank you to the patrons. They made it happen.
It's a great set.
So our first question
Okay.
from Patreon. This is from Juicy John. Juicy John. One of the best names. With the PSVR, do you think/believe that VR will become more accessible to people without the PCs necessary to power the headset in games, which is kind of what we just talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree that the PSVR is going to be what moves VR in the future. PC may look better,
Right.
may have cooler things going on, but graphics and more titles.
Sure.
But PSVR is what's going to keep it mainstream and
Yes.
keep it going.
Yeah. Great question, Juicy.
Good job, Juicy. Next, Evan B. from Patreon. Little off topic.
Okay.
Thoughts on the lifespan of the 3DS and Vita? Now, did you get into the 3DS or the Vita?
You know, I didn't. I wanted to with the Vita. I really did. It takes a lot for me to put my money down, which speaks to, again, the mobile gaming that I've paid for.
Yeah.
And the fact that I was almost, the first time I played the VR, I almost just went out immediately.
But you were smart because you were like, wait.
You know?
Oh.
And even usually I'm an Amazon shopper. And I was like, I'm going to go to a brick and mortar and just, because I can't wait.
I can't wait 2 days for Prime shipping.
Listen, I love delaying gratification, but I was like, I can't wait. I need this.
Yeah, I mean, that was good. We had played some fun games.
We
that
did.
night. Yeah.
I was blown away. That's the impact it had on me. But so I really wanted, again, I love mobile gaming. I really wanted to pick up the Vita.
But it just feels like for you, you feel like the cell phone's going to get there for you.
Oh my gosh. I have so many games on my phone.
Yeah.
So many games on my phone.
Well, it's a pretty timely question because the Vita has, I think, officially been discontinued at this point. The Vita is officially done. They're no longer making games for it.
Yeah, mobile gaming, it's just, that's the death knell.
Yeah. 3DS, I played a lot of 3DS early on. I have not kept up with 3DS because I don't do a lot of portable gaming. For me, and with the Switch, it's like, you know what? The Switch kind of did what I wish the 3DS did, where I could plug it to my TV.
Yes.
Which is, if I play Game Boy games now, retro games, any retro portable stuff, I play it on the television. I'll use the Game Boy adapters or the Super Game Boy because I just like to play those experiences on the TV, and I get the idea of it so you can take it with you and enjoy it. But yeah, I just, I think the 3DS is about. Nintendo claims they're going to keep going with the 3DS for a little bit, but I think the Switch is the replacement for the 3DS.
I would agree with
because
that.
if people are taking the Switch with you, it's a little bit bigger. Obviously with the 3DS you can clamshell it down, but I don't think people care.
No, I like the larger screen size personally.
Yeah, and you can play insane games. The 3DS is really starting to look dated. Just the graphics, you play the Switch portably and then you play the 3DS. It's like, whoa, those pixels.
And the fact too that you can have multiple people playing with the Switch with the 2 controllers.
Yeah,
that's a big pull.
Yeah, and the Vita, I did not get the Vita until way later, and there are a lot of great Vita games. It was a system that had so much potential to beat the 3DS, but what killed the Vita, everybody knows it. Everybody knows what I'm going to say. What killed the Vita was proprietary memory cards. You had to buy their overpriced memory cards from Sony because you couldn't just use any SD card. They had their own proprietary SD card, and they were like $100 for not a lot of space. And I think that's what really messed them up. So I got one more question to finish this out. So this is from Renee Klein on Discord. So this is from the Game Dave Discord. This is a long one.
Oh, wow.
Do you think a dot hack, sword art, or Ready Player One type game will ever be created in VR? One where people can live, work, and get married virtually. If so, what do you think the ramifications of that will be? And would you consider people who live in that world social or antisocial?
Wow.
Social because seeing as how they are technically interacting with thousands of people, but antisocial because they're only interacting via avatars, pseudonyms, and personas. Good Lord, that question.
Wow.
Intense question from
That
Nate Klein.
was deep.
Yeah, so
Very
have you
deep.
played any of those? Well, Ready Player One, of course, we know what that is.
Right.
But Dot Hack or Sword Art Online, have you played those?
No.
So, yeah, I mean, just think a massively multiplayer
Right.
sort of experience. Do you think we're going to get a game like that? Like an MMO that's VR?
Yes. If VR
It's
has the
mainstream
life.
enough. Right.
Yeah. If
Because
it
you got to have a
goes-
lot of player base to get that.
Which I see it. I see the potential there, but it's got to last long enough to get there.
Yeah, because think about how long World of Warcraft existed, and that in VR,
Exactly.
and the amount of what I'm almost thinking is the hours that people will spend in a game universe like that. How we talked about vision earlier. How's your vision going to hold up?
Right.
Playing for 8 hours straight.
Right.
I played World of Warcraft early on. My friends were all playing it, and they're like, "Come on, you got to play." And I was like, "I don't know if I have time." And I got sucked in, and it was bad, and I had to cut it off.
Yep.
Because,
It happens to a lot of people.
Yeah, I would start playing. I was like, "Oh, I'll play a little World of Warcraft, and I'll get some lunch." So I started like 9 o'clock. Started 9 o'clock in the morning, and then I checked the clock, and it was 3 in the morning. Like I didn't eat. I got so sucked into it that I just kept going and going. And how slowly you build up. You have to do so many hours
Sucks you in.
to build up. And I'm like, imagine if that was in VR. And when I play VR, I prefer to stand, even if it's a game that they recommend you sit. I just like to stand because I feel like I just can move. I'm not locked into a chair.
Right.
I'm gonna stand for 16 hours, and you'd find me. I'd be in the paper.
Right.
I'd be in the paper.
Right.
So, yeah, it's tricky. I think it'll happen though.
I do too. But in order to do that, not only I say it's got to be around long enough, and part of that is the technology has to overcome a lot of those hurdles that we talked about earlier in the show.
Even it's just the lighter headset you're gonna need.
Everything's got to
in.
come together.
Yeah. So, the other part of the question: would you consider people who live in that world social or antisocial? Social because of the thousands of people they're interacting with online,
Right.
but they're not.
It's funny because a lot of these concepts, as we've seen recently in society, a lot of these concepts are changing and morphing over time. So, like, what does it mean to be social?
That's true because society has changed a lot.
I think so. I really do. You know, a lot of people, they have a lot of friendships that are just online or social media or whatever.
You think that's healthy? Dr. Gerald? Is that healthy?
You know, I think if it meets a person's need for socialization, then I don't think it's a bad thing. You know, I don't think it's an unhealthy thing. I read a story a little while ago where someone was getting married, and all of his best men were people that he had only interacted with. I think they were playing online together, you know, either on the PlayStation Network or Xbox Live or whatever.
Did they come physically,
They
though?
came physically to the wedding, but that was the first time they'd all met
in person.
Which I thought was amazing.
That's pretty... Though, I mean, the good thing is now with video chatting and Skype and Discord, like, they probably had seen each other.
Maybe, but maybe not. I don't know.
If they only interacted in the game they met out of.
Exactly.
Because that's interesting. Like, if you play, like, I have played MMOs. Yeah, like, you kind of, when you play with somebody regularly and you befriend them, and there were some people I befriended just online gaming, yeah, you kind of get it in your head what that person is.
Right.
And then when you meet them in person, I feel like you're going to be... I mean, maybe people represent themselves very well online, and it's like, oh no, what you play with is what you get. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. For me, I'm kind of on the fence. Like, I totally think that if it's healthy for you and you're not being a wacko,
Right.
I think it's fine. But I think you have to have both. You know, for it to, Dr. Game Dave would say, to be healthy.
Right.
I think you have to have some interaction in person because it really is different. Like when I talk to somebody on Skype and then I talk to that same person in person, like Corey and Try from My Life in Gaming, good buddies, friends of the show. We go to conventions together. I met them online. We talked a lot of Skype conversations with them over the years. And then when they come over and hang out, it's a little bit, it's same but different. And I think our conversations online changed after the first time we met in person. I don't know if they would agree with that. Let me know in the comments, boys. But I think it changes the way you interact after that first in-person meeting. But who knows? It's probably different for everybody.
Right.
Yeah. So that does it for the first show of Digitally Distracted.
Where did the time go?
I don't know, but it went quick.
It did.
Thanks for joining me. I'm glad to have you as my, what did I say, second banana?
Second banana.
My second banana. Still sounds weird. But if there's a topic you want to see on Digitally Distracted, there's a couple ways you can do it. Maybe you want to ask a Q&A question. Maybe you want to suggest a topic for a whole show. I'm sure you could. Here's how you can do it. You can use the hashtag Digitally Distracted on Twitter. Okay, that way I can see it, see your topic, see your questions. Or you can join the Discord server. Links will be in the description. If you want to join the Game Dave Discord, I'll have a Digitally Distracted show channel set up just for questions and topics and discussion about the show. And the third way, and one of the most helpful ways, is to become a supporter on Patreon, because Patreon is the reason this show happened. So if you want to support, go ahead and do it, because the patrons knew about this show months ago, and you might just be hearing about it now. And they got the deets. They kind of helped me figure out where to push the show and how to put it together. And if you want to be a part of that, if that's something you are interested in, support the show on Patreon. But until then, I'm Game Dave.
I'm Gerald.
And we'll see you on the next show.